Can we build a resort island using only ferries in Cities Skylines 2? With the introduction of the Bridges and Ports DLC, I wanted to test the game's limits by building an island without bridges, focusing only on the new ferries and ports instead. This test started well, but ultimately failed. Follow along with me to see what works and what doesn't. We will learn a great deal and provide a list of recommendations for future improvements. My name is College Builder. I'm your friendly college dean who plays Cities Skylines 2. Welcome to Marathon Cove, my Southern California-inspired series. This is episode 22. Before we begin our test of the ferry and port system, let's start by examining the docks and boats that come with the expansion and see if we can create a marina. When we built the small communities at the back of the cove, we simulated docks by placing pedestrian paths out into the water. Bridges and Ports allows us to fix this. Let's delete the old faux docks and try adding wooden leisure piers. These wood ones came with a free game update, where Bridges and Ports offers many options. What's most exciting are the boats now available in the prop menu. We'll place one to help us out with scale as we build our first marina. We will create finger piers or jetties, which are narrow platforms that extend from the main dock to divide slips. The slips are essentially the parking spots for the boats. While we could have a finger pier on each side of the boat slip, it is common to have a finger pier only on one side, as we are building here. We'll place a T-head configuration at the end of the dock, which are commonly found in marinas. This just means the dock ends with a T shape. Let's now repeat this dock setup to expand the marina. Because the shoreline is uneven, once we extend the docks, we end up with parts of our dock at different levels. Using the Move It mod, we can first select the node whose height we want to fix. Then press Ctrl-H. Next, select the node with the height we want to match. Voila! The height of the first node we selected will be automatically changed to match the height of the second. Continuing on, let's build the second dock in our marina, including the finger piers to divide the slips and ending with a T-head. The T-head can be helpful for larger boats that don't fit into the boat slip, or for those that might need deeper water. But we won't worry about that, given our small selection of boat props. We'll continue to wrap the main boardwalk of the marina along the coastline. This part of the marina will feature a similar pattern, utilizing finger piers and T-heads. I love the ability to create marinas, but of course, these are only decorative in the game. I had hoped to have functional marinas in Bridges and Ports, but I admit a port is an industrial facility for moving freight, whereas marinas are for citizen leisure. My first wishlist item is to add functional marinas in a Parks and Recreation DLC. Just as citizens go to a park for outdoor leisure and recreation, they should be able to visit a marina or dock, jump in a boat, and sail into the open water for relaxation. For cities with large lakes or ocean fronts, marinas are a vital source of tourism and activity. Our Southern California region, Marathon Cove, would feature both marinas and yacht clubs. This brings me to my second wishlist item. We need more boat options. The sailboats and cabin cruisers that come with Bridges and Ports are an excellent addition. In a Parks and Recreation DLC, I would add catamarans and pontoons. If yacht clubs are possible, then we will definitely need a bigger boat. I would love to add luxury lots to the game, which would totally change the vibe of our waterfronts. These are just a few ideas, but if you have a wish list of your own, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you like these new marinas in Marathon Cove, please give the video a like. Our marinas are a great addition to the cove and barely scratch the surface of Bridges and Ports. It's time to open up our map, try new game mechanics, and start our test to see if we can build a ferry island without any bridges. Our test begins with the largest island on the map. We first need to set up the parameters of our test, which will be a ferry connection from the bay on the island back to the peninsula. Bridges and Ports comes with a number of new quay walls, which we will use to create a public promenade along the waterfront of our bay. I really like the wide quay with the pedestrian path and the deep rib pattern. You will notice that these walls have a snap-to-shoreline feature, making them very easy to place along the water without receiving any conflict notifications. We are setting the foundation for our experiment, creating a harbor area where passengers could arrive and disembark onto the island. I have in mind island harbors I love, places like Martha's Vineyard or Block Island off the coast of New England, or Catalina Island off the coast of Los Angeles. Using the quay wall, we will create a pier out into the bay, which will be perfect for the ferry stop, which requires a quay placement. This reminds me of the Block Island Ferry, which arrives at a pier away from the shore. Now we just need to add the ferry from the mainland, which we will place back in Cape Vista, where we have a train stop and lots of commercial activity. Once again, we will create a pier out into the water to make the stop in deep enough water away from the beaches. Fortunately, there is plenty of parking nearby for those wanting to take the passenger ferry. My third wishlist item is to add functional car ferries. I would love to see cars driving on and off the ferry boat on a pier. For now, this is part of our island experiment. Will cars and trucks appear on our island roads? To start our ferry route, we need one more building, the ferry depot. We will place this in a temporary spot near our airport. Once we redesign our industrial seaport, we will find a permanent place for it, but for now, this works. 6 ferries have been assigned, but this is far too many, given that no one lives or works on the island. We'll reduce that number to 3. Let's create a district for this part of the island, which we will call Descanso Bay. We can now name our ferry route, with Cape Vista Pier as the starting point and Descanso Bay Pier as the end. This is a resort island, and Descanso Bay will be the quintessential tourist town. Let's place the new European resort hotel that comes with bridges and ports. Like Catalina Island off the coast of Los Angeles, we aim to create a Mediterranean vibe. In fact, we will prioritize commercial development in the bay by using the new European waterfront low-density commercial zone. With the rooftop patios and the sun umbrellas, these are the perfect assets for a Southern California resort island. It looks like our Ferry Island experiment is going well, since we already have a passenger on their way. Let's continue placing waterfront European commercial to create our tourist area. But we also need places for year-round residents to live. To continue with the sun-drenched island theme, let's use the medium-density zone from the Mediterranean Heritage Pack. In setting up an island experiment, we will need to provide local services such as parks and hospitals. I imagine this large park serves as a town center for Descanso Bay. We need to add many more residential buildings if we are to fill the jobs on the island and create a community. Let's use the Recolor mod to make our resort hotel and commercial buildings match the residential ones. The expansion is paying off, with 4 people taking the ferry out to the island. Now's the time to add some detailing, making Descanso Bay really look like a resort community. We're creating something truly walkable, since at the moment there are no island cars. It will be curious to see what happens with this experiment. Meanwhile, back in Cape Vista, 16 citizens are waiting at the pier to come to the island. Some needs still need to be met, so let's add the French clinic, which will fit in well, then the European Elementary School, and the Mediterranean Police Station. The Eastern European Fire Station resembles a lighthouse, so we can place it here as well. We'll place a few more waterfront commercial buildings, and then let's create an open plaza by the water, adding a custom surface, extending the nearby surfaces, and finally placing a water fountain. But now we've hit a major problem. A resort hotel is losing lots of money, and it's run out of stored food. In fact, each commercial building has a finite, limited amount of goods for sale, and we have no way to get new goods to the island. The ferries are bringing lots of citizens, which is incredible, but to bring goods to our shops, we will need to build a port. Thankfully, with the Bridges and Ports DLC, we can build a small custom port, perfect for our small island size. This will enable the transportation of manufactured goods in container ships. Using the new wide port roads, we will create a small cargo area. We will add depth along the waterfront so that container ships can dock. With this DLC, we will need to place a small port gate. Clicking on the port will show upgrades. Let's place a few cargo storage areas and then tighten up our roads. Finally, we can add a container crane to unload cargo when it arrives. The port gate needs to connect to the storage area. The seaways should be extended to our main shipping routes, and finally, we will establish a new cargo ship route from the mainland to the island. Now, we just need to keep track of cargo arriving at the island and watch to see if our commercial zones have their goods replenished. So far, wood and pharmaceuticals have already been delivered, but it appears we have no storage for food or convenience meals. Let's add a cargo warehouse. When we examine the details of each storage type, we see that the cargo yard stores 20 different resources, while the warehouse stores 25 different resources, including refrigerated items such as fish, vegetables, food, convenience food, and beverages. Hopefully, the cargo trucks begin to deliver these processed goods to the commercial zones. While we wait for goods to arrive at the port, let's add more medium-density residential to attract citizens and place more waterfront commercial to create a vibrant touristy feel. The port now has vegetables, grain, paper, and a few other items, so goods are arriving. The resort has food again, but it also appears to be a brand new business, so it's not clear if items were actually delivered or if the new business moving in simply brought them along. Let's add more residential so we can ensure the port and our businesses are fully staffed. With all the new homes, we have lots of people moving to the island, and our ferry line is getting pretty full. 77 people are waiting to board in Cape Vista, and the next arriving ferry has 100 people. As we line the waterfront with shopping, let's also do some detailing, creating custom plazas with decorative tile, palm trees, a fountain, and benches. We also have a hearse notification icon, so it's probably time to add some death care. And by the looks of things, our resort is once again completely out of food. A look at our small port shows 150 tons of food in storage waiting to be delivered. The port also seems to have 16 vehicles, but none of them are in use. What's really interesting is that in addition to police cars, we seem to have several private cars on our island. This citizen lives here in Descanso Bay, and he appears to be traveling back to the mainland to buy beverages. Since we don't have a bridge or car ferries, these private cars had to come from somewhere. One of our waterfront commercial buildings sells plastics, another sells beverages, and this last one sells vehicles, so that must be the source. We have plenty of food in the port, but none of it is being delivered to our resort, despite the fact that vehicles exist on the island. Is our ferry island working? It's time to expand the test. We'll add a bridge from the mainland to Descanso Bay, making sure there is plenty of clearance for ships to pass underneath. This already feels a bit like the failure of our experiment to create an island serviced only by ferries. But if our cargo isn't being delivered, and if the stores can't get new goods to sell, then we have a serious problem. As with any good experiment, we need to understand what's happening before we reach our final analysis. Before making the final bridge connection, let's assign our services to the Descanso Bay district so that service vehicles stay on the island. Let's try to use the environmental context as a guide, creating tunnels for this new highway connection on the mainland, and then trying to stick to flat land as much as possible for ease of construction. Surprisingly, delivery vans head out immediately from our island stores. This one is going to pick up plastics for this waterfront commercial building. Although we have 150 tons of plastic on our island small port, it's going to pick them up from the cargo harbor on the mainland. Likewise, this truck has departed from a store that sells vehicles on the island. Our small port has 200 tons of vehicles, but the truck is going to a manufacturing plant on the mainland to pick them up. The island stores have vans and trucks, but they don't seem to recognize the locally stored goods. What has gone wrong? While we let the simulation process the new connection, let's start adding more medium-density residential. We envision the island as a bustling community surrounding the harbor in Descanso Bay. With the opening of the new bridge, the number of passengers on our ferry has decreased, but the overall occupancy is still reasonable. You can see that traffic is starting to increase on our 5-way star-shaped interchange now that vehicles are using Highway C. Once again, the resort is out of food. This time, its delivery truck has been out to pick up goods from the mainland, even though we have plenty of food available in the small island port. Our little island resort settlement is making its way around on this small peninsula. Let's decorate it with a new lighthouse tourist attraction. I really want our small port to work. Just in case the cause is a shortage of workers, let's add more residential to the island to fill those empty jobs. We'll also add a few more commercial buildings and parks to attract visitors and meet the needs of residents. Unfortunately, even as we bring more people in, every time I check the port, no trucks are going in or out. All the freight is crossing our bridge and heading back from the mainland. I hate to admit it, but it feels like our ferry island is a failure. Let's just eliminate the small port, which honestly looked out of place anyway. While we didn't quite succeed in creating a self-sustaining ferry island, we can finish up the waterfront in Descanso Bay. We have a few open spots that are perfect for parks to keep our tourists and year-round residents happy. Ideally, we will fill in quite a bit more of the waterfront and create an island marina, perhaps something similar to Catalina Island. While we add these details, let's talk about what else is missing to make this a true resort island. We already mentioned 3 wishlist items: functional marinas, more boat models, and true car ferries. Hopefully, citizens can take their bikes onto the ferry as well. A 4th wishlist item would be to add garbage barges. We never quite made it to this issue, but garbage was starting to pile up before we built the bridge. We needed to confront a tricky issue. What sort of trash facility would we add to the island? For a resort island, the ability to ship our garbage away would have been ideal. We could have made this island more self-contained, but a garbage facility would take up a large amount of space. Despite all our bridge traffic, our ferry line from Cape Vista is getting heavy use, but the traffic overview makes me wonder whether we are ready for a second ferry option. Let's go to the back of the cove, right by our university. We will create a pier using one of the quay walls and then place the quay ferry stop. Back in Descanso Bay, we will add a second ferry location for this new line. After a year of building in Marathon Cove, we will finally see active boats sailing through these waters. We will create our new route and call this one Marathon University to Descanso Bay. I'll be very curious to see the overall usage of these 2 routes from the different parts of our peninsula. A parking lot should help bring people to the new pier. Very quickly, we see 115 citizens waiting for a new line. And now, the 5th wishlist item would be to add an even smaller cargo port. Something fit for a small island. This could be a small wooden dock with a wooden storage shed, perhaps something along the lines of the models in the fishing industry. Even if they fix the issue with our now deleted small port, in reality, that port is just way too big for a resort island like ours. You would not find something of this size on Martha's Vineyard or Catalina. So that's our experiment. We tried to build a self-sustaining ferry island, but we couldn't get it to work. If you've tried and had better luck, please let me know what I did wrong. While you're at it, consider giving the video a like, subscribing, and hitting the notification button so you can be alerted to future videos. And please consider watching the next video on the screen.